The Galactic Council arena was never silent, but today it held its breath. Suspended above the fractured moon of Varkesh, the arena shimmered like a crown of light, its hexagonal floor forged from adaptive alloys that could withstand planetary-scale force. Beyond its transparent barriers, the void stretched endlessly, stars burning cold and distant. Thousands of representatives filled the observation tiers, beings of crystal, flame, chitin, and flesh, each drawn by the same question. Was Earth truly something to fear? At the center of the arena stood a single human. He was not tall by galactic standards. He wore no ornate armor, no ceremonial weapons, no symbols of rank. His combat suit was practical, dark, scarred, reinforced at the joints, clearly used rather than displayed. A faint line of old burns traced one forearm, visible where the fabric had been patched instead of replaced. He stood with his hands relaxed at his sides. That alone unsettled the crowd. Kazira strode forward, every step deliberate, every movement designed to dominate attention. Her forearms flexed, obsidian armor flowing seamlessly over her battle-hardened frame. Bone ridges crowned her head like a living helm, etched with scars that marked victories across 7 star systems. She had shattered warlords, broken champions, ended wars with her presence alone. And now she faced a human. "You stand before the council unarmed," she said, her voice amplified and translated across the arena. "Do you believe courage substitutes for power?" A low murmur rippled through the spectators. The human lifted his gaze to meet hers. His eyes were steady, not defiant, not fearful. "No," he replied evenly. "I believe power doesn't always need to be displayed." That earned laughter. Sharp, mocking, alien. Kazira's mandibles flared. "Then allow me to educate you." She turned to the council, spreading her arms wide. "Earth claims deterrence. Earth claims resilience. Yet they send this to represent them." Her gaze snapped back to the human. "I challenge you. Combat trial. No restraints. No interference." The arena's core glowed as protocols activated. A duel sanctioned by the council was absolute. The human did not answer immediately. He reached up and unclasped the cloak draped across his shoulders, a simple fabric, worn thin at the edges. He folded it carefully and placed it at the arena's edge, away from the combat zone. The crowd quieted. "I didn't come here to fight," he said. "I came to warn you." Kazira laughed, a harsh, metallic sound. "Warnings are issued by the strong." She moved faster than most species could perceive. The first strike came like a meteor, forearms moving in perfect coordination, blades extending with a hiss of energized metal. The arena floor fractured beneath her lunge, shock waves rippling outward as her mass and momentum combined into a killing blow. The human moved. Not explosively, not dramatically. He stepped aside. Her blades passed where his throat had been a fraction of a second earlier, carving molten scars into the arena wall. The spectators gasped, not because she had missed, but because the human had anticipated the strike before it fully formed. She pivoted instantly, slashing again, then again, then again, each strike faster, heavier, more brutal than the last. The human retreated, blocking when necessary, redirecting force rather than meeting it head-on. His movements were economical, stripped of flair, shaped by survival rather than dominance. Kazira struck his forearm. The impact rang like thunder. The human skidded backward, boots grinding against fractured alloy. His armor buckled slightly at the point of contact. A ripple of satisfaction passed through the spectators. But he did not fall. Kazira hesitated. That hesitation cost her. He stepped inside her reach, driving a short, compact strike into one of her joints. Not enough to break, but enough to disrupt her balance. She snarled and leapt back, reassessing. "You should already be broken," she growled. The human flexed his arm, rolling his shoulder as pain flared and settled into something manageable. "Earth gravity is heavier than most worlds," he said calmly. "We grow up carrying weight." She charged again, enraged now. This time she struck with raw power, abandoning precision for overwhelming force. Each blow cratered the arena floor. The human blocked one strike with both arms, bones reinforced by earth-forged composites, but the force drove him to one knee. A collective gasp echoed through the tiers. Blood dripped from a cut along his brow. Kazira loomed over him, blades poised. "Yield!" He looked up at her and smiled. Not a taunt, an acknowledgement. This is what you don't understand, he said quietly. Pain isn't a signal to stop. He rose. Slowly, deliberately. Every muscle screamed. Every instinct warned of damage accumulating beyond safe thresholds. His training did not silence the pain. It taught him how to function with it. Khazira struck again. He caught the blow on his shoulder. The impact shattered armor plating, driving him backward, but he remained standing. Blood spread across his suit. His breathing deepened, steadied, regulated. The crowd fell silent. They had seen strong species before, fast species, ruthless species. But this was something else. You don't retreat, Khazira said, confusion creeping into her voice. No, he replied. We adapt. She attacked again, harder than before. He did not dodge. He absorbed the strike, wrapped an arm around her limb, and twisted, using leverage rather than strength. The maneuver forced her off balance for the first time in her long career. Her eyes widened. In that instant, realization dawned. He hadn't been testing her. He had been letting her test him. The human stepped back, bloodied but unbroken, posture still controlled, gaze unwavering. I told you, he said, voice carrying across the arena. I didn't come to threaten. The arena lights dimmed slightly as the council's sensors recalibrated, struggling to quantify what they were witnessing. Khazira straightened, breathing heavy, confidence shaken. What are you? She demanded. The human wiped blood from his mouth and met her gaze. Human, he said simply. And this, he added, squaring his shoulders as the crowd watched in dawning unease, is why Earth does not need to boast. The challenge had only just begun. The arena no longer felt vast. As Khazira and the human faced one another again, the distance between them seemed to shrink, not in meters, but in meaning. The spectators sensed it too. The noise that usually filled the Galactic Council arena, whispers, translator murmurs, biological hums, fell away into a heavy, uneasy quiet. Khazira had fought titans. She had faced creatures that crushed cities beneath their weight, beings whose bones were harder than starship hulls, warriors bred for violence across generations. Against all of them, she had relied on the same certainty. Overwhelming force ended conflict. But the human still stood. Blood streaked his face. One arm hung lower than the other, muscles trembling beneath torn armor. His breathing was audible now, deep, measured, controlled through pain rather than free of it. And yet something about him had changed. He was no longer merely reacting. He was advancing. Khazira roared and launched herself forward with everything she had left. All four blades flashed, arcs of lethal precision converging on the human center mass. The arena floor shattered under the force of her charge, fragments lifting briefly in the artificial gravity before crashing down again. This time he did not evade. He stepped into the attack. The first blade cut deep into his side. The second glanced off his shoulder, tearing through already damaged armor. Pain detonated through his body, white-hot and blinding. He stayed conscious. He stayed upright. The third and fourth blades never reached their target. He caught them. Bare-handed, metal screamed as reinforced bone and torn gloves clamped down on energized steel. The smell of burning flesh filled the air as the blades bit into his palms, but his grip tightened instead of loosening. Khazira froze. No species endured that. No species chose it. Impossible, she hissed, pulling back with all her strength. He did not let go. Instead, he stepped forward, muscles quaking, tendons screaming as he forced her arms apart inch by inch. His teeth clenched, not in anger, but in focus, each breath a decision to continue. This, he said through gritted teeth, is the part you never measure. She struck him with her head, bone ridges crashing into his forehead. The impact echoed like a cannon blast. For a moment, stars exploded across his vision, and darkness clawed at the edges of his mind. He planted his feet and stayed standing. The crowd erupted, some in disbelief, some in horror, some in dawning fear. Khazira staggered back, her balance broken, her confidence shattered. She had struck him with everything she was, and he was still advancing. "What are you?" she demanded again, voice no longer triumphant. He released her blades and took a step back, giving her space she had not earned, but desperately needed. "We are fragile," he said. "We break, we bleed, we die." He rolled his injured shoulder, pain flaring and settling into something dull and manageable. "But we don't stop when it hurts. he continued. We stop when the danger is gone. Kazira screamed and charged once more, fury replacing reason. Her strikes were wild now, powerful, yes, but unfocused. The human blocked what he could, took what he couldn't, each blow carving deeper into him. And still, he endured. He waited for the moment. When it came, it was not dramatic, just precise. He caught her wrist, twisted, stepped through her stance, and swept her legs out from under her with brutal efficiency. Gravity did the rest. Kazira crashed onto her back, the arena shaking with the impact. Before she could rise, he was on her. Not striking, pinning. His knee pressed into her chest, his full weight anchoring her to the fractured floor. One hand locked around her upper arms, forcing her blades away from his body. The other braced against the ground, keeping him steady despite the tremors running through his muscles. She thrashed, roaring, trying to overpower him. He did not respond with force. He responded with patience. Seconds passed, then more. Her strength waned, fury burning itself out against an immovable reality. Finally, her struggles slowed, then stopped altogether. Her chest heaved as she lay pinned beneath a creature she had dismissed as weak. The arena was utterly silent. The human released her and stood, swaying slightly before catching his balance. He took 2 steps back and waited. Kazira rose slowly, disbelief written across every rigid line of her form. She looked at him, not as prey, not as an opponent, but as something fundamentally misunderstood. "You could have ended me," she said, her voice low. "Yes," he replied simply. "Why didn't you?" He met her gaze. "Because fear taught through death doesn't last. Fear taught through understanding does." Around them, the Galactic Council sat frozen. Sensors screamed warnings as they recalculated probabilities that no longer made sense. Models shattered. Assumptions collapsed. This was not brute strength. This was endurance weaponized. This was pain converted into resolve. Kazira bowed her head, not deeply, but enough to be unmistakable. "I challenged you to prove Earth's weakness," she said. "Instead, you revealed its danger." The human retrieved his cloak from the edge of the arena and draped it over his shoulders, blood soaking into the worn fabric. He did not look victorious. He looked tired. "We don't want war," he said, turning to address the council. "But if pushed, we will outlast it. No threats, no boasts, just truth." As he walked toward the exit, the representatives of 100 worlds watched in silence, a single thought echoing through countless minds. Earth was not feared because humans were invincible. Earth was feared because once humans were challenged, they refused to fall.